Welcome to the Cappuccino Club's social TV channel. An empowered woman is someone who knows the strengths and isn't afraid to embrace it. We invite you all to join us as we introduce you to women who lead in academia and research and inspire and empower others to change through conversations. Thank you for tuning in. Don't go away. We will be right back. Hello and welcome. If you are just joining us, I am your host, Brigitte Lambanda. I'm a live video camera confidence coach, and I host and produce live video shows that helps brands, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and social good initiatives share their stories. I'm also very passionate about practicing responsible social media. Today, we introduce you to women who lead in academia. My co host is an accomplished senior executive herself, Viola Manuel, and she's been nominated for multiple awards. Viola was the CEO of the Cape Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the executive director of the Cape IT Initiative, a member of the Western Cape Premier's Council of Skills, just to mention a few. Viola also serves as a non-executive at the National Sea Rescue Institute in South Africa, as well as being the deputy chair of the Cape Town Stadium. Viola has got two entrepreneurial ventures, G&V Retail and Afri Wellness, but she says she's most proud of her achievement of being a mom to a 10-year-old son, Shay. Viola set up the Cappuccino Club as a social platform to meet inspirational ladies like the ones we're meeting today, who are at various stages of their lives. And today we're going to meet women who lead in academia and research. Viola, good morning and welcome to you.
Thank you so much. And to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in and watching the show. Today's a very exciting day. For us at the Cappuccino Club, one of the main objectives is to expose women who are doing phenomenal things to other women and really just trying to create a support network for each other. It's fantastic for us to now have an opportunity to listen to the women who play a major role in academia. The interesting thing about the Cappuccino Club, of course, is that we try not to sort of showcase the usual suspects, the people who are constantly in the press, but also just showcase some of the women who are doing groundbreaking work that are not always familiar to everybody, and their names and their faces are not always familiar to everybody. So we really, really are excited about our guests today and the discussion that we'll have with women leading in the academic and research space.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Definitely looking forward to bringing these ladies online and having a conversation with them. So shall we welcome them to the show?
Yes, let's do.
An empowered woman is someone who knows her strengths and isn't afraid to embrace it. We invite you to join us as we introduce you to women who lead in academia and research and inspire and empower others through conversations. Good morning and a very warm welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Could I ask each of you to introduce yourselves to our audience? Shall we start with Niziswa?
Hello, everybody. My name is Niziswa Titi. I am a PhD scholar based at the South African Medical Research Council. And the unit I work in is co-directed by the Institute of Social and Health Sciences, which is based at UNISA. I am primarily responsible for the coordination of the Transdisciplinary African Psychologist Group Colloquia series, which is about talking about decolonization and African-centered research and scholarship. And I've been blessed and privileged to be the vice chairperson of CISA's Division of Research and Methodology. Thank you.
Welcome and thank you for introducing yourself. Lynn, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure, I'm Lynn Hendricks. I'm at the Center for Evidence-Based Healthcare. I'm a researcher here, also a PhD student. So I'm registered at KU Leuven, Melbourne, in the Department of Social Science, and here at Stellenbosch University in the Department of Global Health. I am an executive member of the Psychological Society of South Africa and do a bit of lecturing where I can for the last few years at different universities.
Thank you for that introduction. Can we ask Michelle to introduce herself next?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Andy Patton, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Psychology. I've been in academia for the past 32 years, and currently I'm deputy head of department after having done a stint of 4 years as head of department within the university. My areas of interest in research really is about women's health, particularly reproductive health and high risk reproductive health, and also issues in gender and particularly gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. Can we have Rizwana next? Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rizwana, and I'm a lecturer in the psychology department at Stellenbosch University. I lecture both undergraduate and postgraduate students, and I supervise several honors, masters,
Excellent. Welcome, ladies. Great to have you on the show. Can we ask each of you to start our conversation? Why do you think academia is such a unique space for women?
Can any of us start?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, sure. Being in academia for 32 years, it wasn't always a case of this being a unique space for women. In fact, it was a very difficult space for women in those early days. Even today, I think the playing fields are not completely level, but I think we're reaching there more and more. But I think this is really a space where we can make our voices heard, we can contribute towards the knowledge economy. But even more than that, I think we're in a very privileged position where we can assist in making an impact and forwarding an agenda of social justice.
Rizwana, could we have your opinion next?
Sure. I think that not all academic spaces are the same. So it's hard. I don't want us to generalize or give a general impression about an academic space. Because even within universities and within departments, there's quite a few differences. So I'm going to speak a bit more personally. And I'd like to say that an academic space is a good space to be in because it really affords you many opportunities for growth. And I'm talking about academic growth, professional growth, as well as personal growth. I can see that there are sort of changes within the academic space. And I think that women are becoming more vocal about what we need. And I think that spaces are adjusting to that. So before this, the environment used to be quite male-dominated, and everyone was only focused on academic excellence. And I think that now students are saying that we want to be treated as human. We'd like to work with people who are willing to help us grow, who are willing to learn from us. And I think that that academics are heeding this call and are listening. And I think that the academic environment is adapting to this. So that's why I think it's a really good space to be in, not just for women, but for anyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Could we have the next?
Yes, I agree with Michelle. It's not always been an easy space for women in academia. We've had to fight just as in other industries and in other areas to have spaces made. And I like how Rizwana put it, that spaces are adjusting to accommodate women. But it's a good space for us to be in. We are expressive in this really gives us an opportunity and a stage on which we can express views of other women. You know, a lot of the research that's been done before has been about women by generally men. And now we want to do research about ourselves, with other women like ourselves. And I think there's definitely advantages to this space in that you don't need physical strength or anything like that. You just need to have your position and your views and the commitment to put it down onto paper and to share it with others.
Fantastic. Could we have Naziswa next, please?
Hi. They have said everything, but what I would like to add to what they're saying is that we as women now are insert, inserting ourselves, our voices, and ideas as well. We are not afraid anymore of stating the agendas. So, and that is what we are. This business that is now. So it is now a space where we set the agenda and we and we are implementing those tools. Thank you.
I think that's amazing and it's very exciting. One of the things that I'm hearing you ladies say is that it is really a time for women to start forging in this space. I loved what Lynn said. It's, historically we've had men researching about women and then telling us how we feel and what we think. And now we suddenly have this band of very strong, independent women who are able to sit down and say, actually, this is how we feel and this is what we think. And also the trust factor of getting some of the information out, getting information from women, especially about things like reproductive health, social engagement, etc. Trying to get that from women, it sort of, in my mind, translates to a more transparent discussion when the person sitting opposite you is another woman. So I think that's fantastic. That's really very, very interesting. One of the questions I have is, in terms of this whole space, it's a very unique space. Being in the academic space is a very unique space. Are there specific advantages for women being in that space? So one of the things I've started speaking to some of my friends about is the fact that there's a little more flexibility in the academic space around your time, more flexibility, especially if you're a mom or if you are somebody who has additional responsibilities. This space allows you that flexibility. Is that true, or is that just a myth that we've got to try and take care of today? Maybe let me ask Lynn, start with you.
Sure. So yes, absolutely. This is one of the things I enjoy most about the academic space is the flexibility that I can plan my days, but let's not forget this is a job that carries on for 24 hours a day. It doesn't have a start time and an end time. We have deadlines and we've got multiple parallel deadlines that happen that are non-negotiable. How we manage our time around that deadlines are flexible, but it is a very time consuming industry to be in. It does mean spending time away from families. So even though we have flexibility in our day-to-day schedules, it does involve lots of traveling, lots of conference attendance, teaching outside of your institution. So you do spend a considerable amount of time on the road or away from home. So we do then value having those mornings that you can share with families and having the weekends that you can block off some time in between things. So it has its pros and its cons, yeah.
Thanks, Lynn. Michelle, what do you think about that? Michelle, just start again. I'm sorry, your mic wasn't.
Sure. I think the flexibility is a huge advantage, like you said, particularly when you are a mom. You can, and like what Lynn is alluding to, you can plan. But again, we mustn't lose sight of the fact that it's a very demanding industry to work in. We are expected to publish all the time. We're expected to supervise. We're expected to teach. So when one weighs up, it's not an easy space to be in. When one comes home, your family wants you to be with them. They demand, your children demand your time. And so sometimes it's very difficult when you're walking at home and you have to open up your laptop to start working again. Or if you get to bed, you get to bed quite late in the evenings because you're sitting up, you're up early in the morning. But for me, the flexibility is quite important and it is an advantage. I think the other advantage for me really is about being able to contribute towards the creation of knowledge. That for me is very, very important. And I think that this is one of those spaces where we can really say that we're contributing towards change, towards social transformation. We contribute towards thought and thinking. And that for me has always been important. And I think been the draw card for me within academia.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Nazizwa?
What I'm enjoying about that is that you can choose the people with whom you want to work with. So the flexibility for me is that I am not forced to work with the same kinds of people each time.
Yeah.
So I can work with people at UNISA, can work with people from Stellenbosch, from societies in other areas as well, like VIDS and and so on. But all of that is with in time frame. So you manage all of that within the hours you have, and those are not always in working hours. So you must manage all of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Rizwana, what is your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
So Nazis was also speaking about the academic freedom, and this is a huge advantage because for us, we can decide which areas we'd like to research. So if we have an interest in something, we can research it. And I mean, people in other jobs don't really have the opportunity to really pursue knowledge in an area that interests them. So this is a huge advantage. And I also hear what Lynn is saying about us working all the time. So we really never stop working. We work after hours, often we work weekends. And so there's that disadvantage. But at the same time, I think that working in academia, it really affords me an opportunity to be a role model to my son at home, to show him this is what women do. And I've taken him with me to conferences, and he sees how I work at home. And I think children also learn by emulating what their parents do, not just when you tell them, go and do your homework. So I think in the private space also, when they see that you're working, it's beneficial to your family because they model that as well.
That is so true. I'm on the same page with you. I have a beautiful boy named Shay. He's 10 years old. And he, one of my things is to raise him to understand strong women like the ones we're talking to today, understand what makes them tick, understand that they are to be respected, and so on. So I think that's great. Thank you. That was so insightful. Thank you very much. So one of the more sensitive things, Brigitte, that I've been getting from my colleagues in academia, I don't know if you've heard about this as well, is this horrible thing called campus politics. You sometimes think that the politics only exists within the corporate space, but as I understand, the campus politics can be quite scathing and quite it really leaves you battle scarred. How do you, especially as women in the space, it's sad that very often in some of these spaces we represent our gender. you sit at a boardroom and you're the only woman there. You, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you're representing a gender. And as you would represent womanhood in the space, how do you get around the sort of campus politics or the institutional politics that might want to drag you into it? Let's start with
I think that's a very good question, Viola. It's, politics is everywhere, and unfortunately, the academic space is definitely not immune to politics. Lynn, can we go with you first?
Lynn, do you want to just unmute your mic?
I thought we were lip reading. I've had my fair share of campus politics, and I must say, where I am based right now at the center here in the Faculty of Medicine at Stellenbosch, I've had the least amount of campus politics. We are women led. Our department is women led. Our division is women led. We outnumber the men in this unit by far. And the type of leadership we experience here is equal and equitable for everybody. We don't really have workplace politics here. Where I do find instances of politics in the larger university framework, I navigate that by reminding myself what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and who I am. I always be cognizant of the goal, which is to contribute to the knowledge. I think Michelle also alluded to this earlier, and I have to remind myself who I am. So never sacrificing my values or my beliefs for the sake of politics, and also trying to make sure that I am a good example to other researchers that come after me or even the colleagues that I have around me.
Brilliant.
Can we ask Rizwana next, how do you navigate politics around your campus?
I think there's sort of two types of politics. So the one would be related to broader issues on campus. And I think in that space, so if you see some sort of injustice or you're worried about issues that are happening on campus and they're important to you, I think it's important to get your hands dirty and get involved and speak up. The other type of politics is about personal politics. And I think that within an academic environment or within most environments, it actually stems from competition. And this can be a very natural response, especially if you're in an academic setting where most people are high achievers. And it's very natural for people to want to compete with one another. And so my advice is to not get sucked into it. As Lynn said, it's important for you to be authentic and to always be aware of what your values are and stick to those values. So that self-awareness is really important, I think, within any working environment. And don't sort of, if something is against your values, just don't go there. Yeah, that's my advice.
Good.
Excellent, very well balanced. Michelle, can we ask you next, please?
So as best as I can, I think it's a very loaded question. If I unpack the word politics, I agree with Rizwana, there are different levels of politics. We have the kind of institutional politics, and then we have what I would like to call the more personal dynamics, which I think, Viola, you were alluding to, and where things can become quite toxic. But coming from an institution like the University of the Western Cape, we come from a political background, and there's no way that one escapes those broader kinds of political struggles. And I think the 2015, 2016 hashtag fees must fall campaigns and the hashtag end rape campaigns kind of showed us again that we cannot escape it. So I think one has to be aware of your social location and your social positioning all the time, so that at the end of the day, when one responds to these kinds of political dynamics, that one comes from a position of consciousness and one comes from a position of awareness. And like Rizwana also alluded to, that when there are injustices, I don't think that one in this day and age should remain silent. How we respond becomes important because there are so many different platforms and so many ways. For example, we saw now with the gender-based violence campaigns within Cape Town, how powerful it is when we rally on a mass level. On a more kind of personal dynamic scale, it becomes quite tricky. I think that many people enact their personal dramas in a very unconscious way, that they're not aware even sometimes of how they're playing out particular dramas, whether it be through the lens of gender, whether it be through the lens of race, class, religion, whatever lens one chooses to view this through. I think that people sometimes are extremely unconscious in terms of their own stories and narratives and how this translates into the interactions with other people. And so when you are unaware and unconscious of these dynamics, they play themselves out in quite toxic kinds of ways. So to sum all of it up, I think one has to become very aware of who you are interpersonally, intrapersonally, as well as on a social kind of way, that you're aware of your social location and your social position.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, I absolutely want to say wow to that response. Naziswa, can we ask you next? And before you speak, I just want to say a warm welcome to our live audience, both on Facebook and on LinkedIn. If you have any questions for our panel, please do put them in the comments. We are watching the comments both on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So thank you for joining us live. Naziswa, over to you.
Wow, what will I say after all of this? My colleagues are just so articulate and very, very smart. How I deal with it is that I am always aware of why I am in a space. My vision is always what is guided, and so and I use a space to help me deal with things, and I am not happy about. Example, issues of race, issues of kinds of so I use a space to do that. I'm happy. I'm things, and I'm and also I'm social issues.
Yeah, so I really do think it's about, in that space more than most, maybe, or maybe even in the sort of corporate space, it's really just understanding who you are, what you stand for, why you are there, what your vision is, all those good things. And then your social location, your interpersonal skills, understanding that, because I think, most spaces have politics, but for young ladies wanting to come into the space, ladies watching the show, even young gentlemen watching the show and saying, the academic and research space is where I want to be. When they say that, you have to understand that you have to be a very strong person who's certain of who they are, because you're surrounded by very clever people, very articulate people, people who have a wealth of knowledge and very deep knowledge on the subject matters that they are experts in. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, I know there's a sort of unkind saying in education at the moment that says, those who can do and those who can't do, they just teach. And it says there that those who can't teach others to teach, while those who can't teach others to teach either become education administrators or researchers. And I sent you that quote because, just researching today's show, that's something that popped up for me. And I've got my own views on why I completely disagree with that. And I'm not even in the academic space. But I'd love to hear you all respond to that. Do people in business, when you meet with them, do you feel that they take you seriously? Do they take your expertise seriously, or do they just sort of rub it off as that's just a bunch of academics talking around a table who don't understand the real world and how it works? Maybe we'll start with Rizwana on this one. Do you want to try and unmute your mic first, please?
There we go.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
So I've heard this saying, maybe there's some truth to it, but I haven't encountered this sort of experience when working, when interacting with people in the business world. So I don't, I'm not sure how this is really, how much truth there is to it and how much people listen to it. But I think that for us in the academic space, people don't really understand what we do and how much we do. And we do all of it. We do teaching, we do research, we do work sometimes with clients as well. I remember being a first year student and seeing my lecturers and thinking, oh, this looks like a really nice job. They teach for 2 hours a day and the rest of the time they have free. So they don't really do much. It seems like quite an easy gig. And I can guarantee you that it's not true. And I think that researchers and academics, you wear various hats and you have engagements with society on multiple levels. So I don't think it is that you can't do. I think that maybe there's an element of being more reflexive in what we do. And this sort of cognitive component is what people think about, that we're all just reading books and not doing much. But I think I can say with confidence that we can do as well.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, Lynn, do you want to go next?
Sorry, Lynn, before we get your comment, I just want to acknowledge a comment on LinkedIn,
Okay.
because I'm unable to show the comments on LinkedIn on screen. I am showing the comments from Facebook on screen. So Tish is in the US and she says, a lovely compliment to all you ladies. She says, this would be a lovely group to come to the US and speak. It would be phenomenal. So thank you for that comment, Tish.
Great. Lynn, do you want to go ahead and answer our discussion or contribute to our discussion around those who can and those who do?
I rebuke that statement. I've yet to see a reference for that statement. It's not valid. It's not verifiable. There's no evidence. It makes no sense. If you look at what has been said and the alleged quote, if you think about those conducting the research now, they are creating new evidence, they are testing old evidence, and they're finding out best practice. Without that, then this ecosystem doesn't work. There will be nothing to do based on good evidence and good practice. There will be nothing to teach. So I think everybody needs to, we all contribute to this learning, teaching, doing ecosystem. We all play a part. The best teachers are the ones that do, because without the experience and without knowing what is out there in industry, it's impossible to teach and to keep up to date. That is why we've got systems like CPD. That is why we continuously train, attend short courses. We invest in working outside of the academic sector. It's what makes us good at what we do. I have yet to be exposed to a professor or a lecturer who has zero experience in the professional world.
Okay.
You know, forced to stay on board with what is happening. The students, as they come through the years, and every year when we get a new cohort of students, they come with new skills, more advanced skills. And in order for us to effectively teach, we need to be up to date with what is happening all the time. So I don't think there's much value in this statement. I think it's more about everyone has a role to play. And without everyone playing these roles, the system will break down and we won't have this teaching learning cycle that happens.
Yeah, we've just found our future Minister for Higher Education. Thank you.
Yes, I will just review.
Thank you, Minister. Ms. Izwa? you want to unmute your microphone? It's still muted, my dear. Can you try and unmute it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So I agree with Len. I agree with Rizwana. That is just, I was laughing actually. I read it and I laughed. But I want to talk about admin and research. Admin is so much down played, and it's so wrong because nothing can function without admin.
Absolutely.
Nothing they can function without a person that can think and plan things. So administration is at the core of a functional, whatever it is, functional organization, functional company. So you need administration and researchers are involved in that as well, because you manage yourself first, you manage your students, you manage your project, and everything else that goes into that. So we do administration, we do management, we do supervision of students, we do authorship, we do field work, we do groundwork, we do all of these things. So our work is very much loaded. And with the research now, all our work, it informs things like it interventions. It informs as well. So there is nothing like we are doing this big because we can't I'm well, but it is that we do all of this in addition to everything else which we have to do and must do.
Yeah, so it's full. It's a full plate of stuff to do. Michelle, your thoughts? Just unmute your microphone, please, dear. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I've experienced both sides of the coin that you spoke about right at the beginning, where people from the business corporate world would say, "Ah, they're academics; they live in their head." I think the landscape within academia shifted tremendously over the last 5 years, and I think many decades, 2-3 decades ago, there was this whole idea of academics sitting in the Ivy League universities theorizing about the world out there without really having an understanding of real world social issues. But I think things have shifted so much that what we do is so implicitly integrated with what we do within the academy that there isn't a split anymore between the real world in inverted commas and academia, that we are embedded within the social contexts that we come from. And so for those artificial splits and those binary ways of thinking about the real world versus academia, I think that has been broken down more and more, and we do see much more of an integration of those particular aspects. And like my colleagues alluded to, the academic space is a very complex one, and if we go back to the Marxist way of thinking, for argument's sake, where Marx would basically say that we're all contributing towards this huge machinery, and without one aspect of it, the whole machine would collapse. So we need to start breaking down hierarchies and thinking that one task is less than because without the one, the other one cannot function. So I agree with Lynn. I also rebuke that. I think it has no substance, it has no evidence, particularly within the era that we're finding ourselves within. And if just to go one step further, if we think about sustainable development and we think about globally where we find ourselves within, we have to pull together in some way so that we will be able to see this planet still up and running within the next 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. Rizwana, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, Michelle just reminds me now that one of our key performance areas is actually community interaction. So the university also appreciates that we need to be involved with communities that we work with and not just purely be academics and doing research and publishing and teaching, but have more involvement in communities and within civil society. So
that's
supporting what you're saying.
That's very interesting. I think from what Zizwa was saying about the fact that there is no, I think when you look at academics, there are so many facets and so many roles that you all play that isn't really known by the sort of general public. Unless you're in that space, you won't know that. So thank you. I can understand why there was this rebuke of that statement. I think it's probably one of those statements that nobody takes seriously anymore. One of our listeners, as just viewers, has just sent in an interesting question. I'm going to ask one of you to comment on this, and that is, what is the key role that women leaders can play in academia in terms of the fourth IR in higher education? So the fourth industrial revolution is a massive discussion. And I know we're sort of getting to the end of our show today, but I would like to ask one of you, whoever feels that it's that they would like to answer that. How do you, as women leaders in academia, start dealing with the fourth IR in higher education? What's that going to look like?
Maybe I can respond. Yeah, maybe I can respond to that. Thank you, Dr. Phyllis, as one of my colleagues here at UWC. I think women play a central role in ICT, in technology, and all of this translates into our learning and teaching activities. And we are required to become more innovative in our learning and teaching strategies, because if we understand the landscape of education, and I'm not just talking higher education, I'm talking education from schooling. We know that many of the students that we serve at UWC come from a deficit position where our schooling system hasn't really prepared them for higher education. So our ways of learning and teaching becomes so important. And our students are not a homogenous group of students. So you'd find your students who are your top achievers, and then your kind of middle achievers, and then you find your students who really, really grapple. And we all don't learn through the same media. For example, some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, some people enjoy reading. And before, academia was based purely on reading, and our learning and teaching strategies were based on reading. And so we've had to come to understand that we are dealing with a very diverse range of students. And so our learning and teaching strategies has to match those kinds of demands and those kinds of diverse demands. So I see that we have a very important role to play. Our ear always needs to be the ground. What are the needs of our students? And with our ICT platforms that we currently have, fortunately, we are able to respond to those kinds of demands within higher education. I've also just helped one of the students from the ICS, the Information Communication Systems Department, a woman who was finishing a PhD, and she had come to me to ask me to assist her with how do we understand ICT through a feminist lens. So more and more women are engaging in ICT and technology, and with the fourth industrial revolution, it's becoming critical for all of us to engage at that particular level as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even with me, with Shay, he's now doing French. I don't speak a word of it. It's just, at oui. And so, I'm just, just having these different platforms that teach him or enhance his learning experience has become very important. I personally think that the future for people studying is going to be radically different. I think my personal view on this, and maybe we should take it offline, is that very soon you're going to be able to get one part of your degree from one university, the next part of your degree from another university, and the universities are going to have to play nicely to be able to give me my qualification. I think very soon things are going to change. I 15 years ago did my MBA completely distance learning. I never saw a single professor, and it was incredibly difficult, but I think it was important. So we really need to, as women, start really thinking about this and spearheading and at least participating in these discussions, if not spearheading them. I have one question about the academic space as well, and I know we're getting to the end of our show, but I do want to ask one of you to just comment on this. There's a book called Black Academic Voices. I don't know if any of you heard about it, but it was massive. It was launched up in Johannesburg, and it says that this book illustrates how Black academics experience the workplace. It tackles issues around belonging and exclusion. Do you feel that there is, if we just talk about exclusion and belonging, do you feel that there is a gender bias in the academic and research space? Are you feeling that that bias is disadvantaging you? I know one of you might have a comment on that. I'm going to just ask one of you to comment on that just because of time.
Lynn, do you want to go?
Yeah, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, I do feel that there are biases in the academic and the research space. As much as there's gender bias, I also think that there is still a racial bias that still happens in academia. And there is even bias in where our knowledge is produced and how it's produced and what's accepted as evidence. So in science, we are forced sometimes to stick to the normal ways of doing the research, through interviews, through questionnaires, through surveys. And that might not be the best methods for us to actually get to people's experiences. And we need to start branching out and thinking larger than. Also, the theories that we apply to things are all historical colonial theories that we need to re-explore and investigate its applicability to our context. It's about coming up with ways of knowing and what can be known in a very contextual way. And I know Nezizwa also works a lot around African-centered psychologies, and her work is great and amazing, the decolonial work that we are all engaging in. So the only way to break through these biases is to create our own ways of knowing and what can be known. But the biases will be there for as long as we are not addressing them. They're not just disappear. We have to take the lead in focusing on this, and then also training those that are still coming to also engage in these perspectives and African ways of in psychology and science.
Absolutely. Rizwana, you wanted to add something? Please do.
Gender bias within.
Go ahead.
I think that there is still a gender bias within academic settings. When I started out this conversation, I said that the space is becoming more accommodating to women. And during our conversation, Lynn also mentioned that there are quite a lot of women entering academia, and in her unit, the women way outnumber the men. However, one of the issues is that while women are increasingly joining the space, the top positions in terms of management is still held by men. The top awards still go to men. So a few weeks ago, I went to the NRF Awards, where they were handing out the A ratings. And out of 21 people who received A ratings, only 2 were women. So this demonstrates there's still quite a bit that needs to be done to give women top management spaces within the academic setting, because we still sort of hold the lower ranks.
Yes. Michelle?
Yeah, just quickly, I think a lot of what we're seeing depends, it's very, it's based on the institution where you're at. If I think of our university, our rector's male and the 3 DVCs are all female. So there's a lot of movement towards getting women into senior positions. But I think if one looks at the South African context, I think a lot still needs to be done. If you read the white paper in Science and Technology, the 2019 white paper, it speaks to the landscape and how white, male, and aged academics still are. And so the whole thrust from government side is to change, is to upskill, is to support your emerging scholars, and particularly women and Black women.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle. We've sort of coming to the end of our discussion. I know, Naziswa, you probably also would like to comment on that, but we are running out of time. What I did want to ask you all to do is to possibly just, as a closing question, if there's a young lady watching this and she feels that the academic space is her space, what would your advice be to her? We'll start with you, Naziswa. Let's start with you. Please unmute your microphone. There we go.
I would say to do not allow anyone to tell you what you can do and can't do.
Okay.
So be sure of yourself first. Be sure of what you want to do, and live in that. I am an example of somebody that has that was told that you can't work here because you are ring or you are Black, you're coming from other areas. So when you hear that, be aware first of what you want to do and want to be, and move with people that are able to see you as a person and as not about a person that can or can't. So trust in yourself and in your goals.
Absolutely. Lynn? Just unmute your microphone first, please.
I can't stop playing this game. I would really advise and encourage young women to walk confidently in the path they are navigating. Don't be afraid of walls that are put up. Don't be afraid of closed doors. Those are pivotal moments. They are redirecting you. Just be assured that you are still moving forward. I did, when I was younger, have the set path and how I plan for things to go. I learned very quickly there's no such thing as a plan. It's just about navigating the journey that you are on. And when things turn you away or the opportunity closes, it's a pivoting moment to something else. And it's not exactly a closed door, it's just a redirection. So just keep moving forward and keep engaging with other women in the field.
Okay. Iswana?
Okay, so I'll be brief, and my advice is to go for it. It's an incredible amount of work, but it's also very fulfilling. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Michelle?
I think being the HOD for 4 years and deputy HOD, I've seen quite a few things. And for me, I think as with any other profession, it's a calling. It's a calling. It's not a job. And everybody is not cut out to be academics, and everybody's not cut out to be clinicians, and everybody's not cut out to be researchers. So listen to that voice inside, find your passion, find what you want to do, find your purpose, and find your destiny.
Lovely, lovely. I am one of those people that was not cut out to be an academic and researcher. I'm so lazy to write. I like the talking, but I could do, but the marking and the writing, but no. Ladies, thank you so much for being such an inspiration today. Thank you for joining us. I know that it was, for some of you, a new platform to participate in. But I want to thank all of you. Thank you for sharing the video with so many people, and to all of our viewers, thank you very much. Just that's from my side. I know Budeti will want to close off, but thank you very, very much.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely want to agree. I want to say a huge big thank you to our audience on LinkedIn and our audience on Facebook. And remember to do good stuff and let's keep inspiring each other one conversation at a time. This is also an open invitation to any of you watching the broadcast to join the CuppaChino Club on Facebook. It's facebook.com/CuppaChino Club. On LinkedIn, if you would like to join us there, it's also the CuppaChino Club on LinkedIn. So thank you everyone for watching and hope that this conversation inspired you.
Okay, just one last comment for anybody who would like to join the CuppaChino Club WhatsApp group. You can message me directly and I will certainly add you to the group. There's no kittens with steaming cups of coffee, no fantastic good morning messages, just any information that helps women grow women. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.